Hello and welcome to another video for Black Crow Gaming. I'm Sam, Black Crow Gaming's resident melee expert, and today we will be talking about world eaters in the new meta. Now, obviously, I imagine everyone watching this knows about the balanced data slate that dropped a couple of days ago, and a lot happened there. There was a lot that didn't happen and a lot that did happen. So I'm not going to go into the nitty-gritty detail of all of the um, things that happened in the data slate. I will be contextualizing my opinions based on stuff that happened. So if you don't know what's happened in the data slate, I recommend going and checking out other content creators. There's loads on the data slate. I imagine we'll probably do a podcast about it at some point soon. But in general, um, yeah, we'll be. I'm just going to be talking about the world eaters specific part, and then the parts that are relevant to that, in the sense of what are our predators and what you need to be worried about when you're building your lists. So yeah, a couple of lists that I've got here that I'll show you. But yeah, before we get into it, I just need to thank our sponsors, Glasshammer. Glasshammer are amazing to us. Great guys over there, great store. You get extra discount if you use code Black Crow, 5% discount on top of all of the other discounts that they give you. You know, that works on top of Elite and everything like that. So yeah, and then Terrain Forge, it's BCG5, a 5% discount on that. And so let's get into it. So first, we have the points changes. So there was no rules changes for World Eaters. I don't really think we needed any rules tweaks, and I don't know what I was really hoping for out of this slate. I mean, we know that the Codex is coming very soon, so you know, depending on who you ask, it might be sooner rather than later as well. So we this is just to tide us over for maybe like another month or so, maybe a little bit longer. We'll see, but it's interesting. So the points changes. I mean, predators. Everyone got predator. Every predator went up. So we just caught a stray. I mean, no one was really like saying like, "Oh, world eaters predators are OP. They need to go up in points." It, honestly, I never wrote a list for a predator in. If you're using a predator in world eaters, I'm sorry, but maybe this should encourage you to not. I think you're better off without the predators. Demon Princes coming down. No, that's cool. I like were some people using Demon Princes, especially in the Vessels detachment. I think bringing them down a smidge is fair, because honestly, our other than the invulnerable save like aura, our princes aren't particularly powerful, right? They don't hit as hard as you would like, and they're not as tanky as you would like as well. So having them come down a bit in points, I think, makes them much more of an option there if you like it, and especially for those vessels lists, when you're not taking Angron, you've got room for the odd big thing to hide in a wall with the gateways enhancement as well, especially. Juggernaut Lords coming down 20 points. They're now set at 80 points. Like, honestly, they still have a lot of issues there, right? Like the AP1 with lots of attacks is all right into some things, but awful into other things. You know, any army with Armor of Contempt and 2-up saves are just going to laugh at you, if you try and kill something with this. But at 80 points, suddenly it's like, okay, but that's fine. Like, I'm not expecting it to kill stuff. Still does mortals on the charge. You know, it's still reasonably fast. Yes, it's mounted, so it can't go through walls, but we have quite like it's quite an interesting tech piece. I mean, I miss using my Lord and Juggernaut with favored, that I would used to just sit on my home objective and just be like, even if you've got something that's deep striking, you're not getting rid of my sticky on my home objective. Just and I'll pick up whatever you put down there. You know, he was such a good little home field holder. Now 120 points with that combo, of the once per game favored. It just didn't seem worth it, and it just didn't work out points wise, right? When we were writing lists, it was just it didn't fit. Whereas I think now there is a few different options there, and like 80 points, it's 10 more points than Spawn. And I think, Spawn are famous for being tanky. You know, you're getting that 4-up Filner Pain is really good. They've got, saves the heal, all of that stuff. But also Juggernaut Lord, very tanky. toughness 6, 2 up, 4 up. Just doesn't die to, it requires a proper commitment. So I think he's really good in that role now because he's come down to 80 points, right? Like a lot of lists that you write will have, um, 10 points left here or there, maybe. And that little upgrade seems really worth it. In my opinion, I think that it's something that I'm going to be trying out. So, coming on to the first list that I have here. Um, so that is this one. So this is Berserker Warband. This is the RB2K modified, right? So it's still 2K. Uh, so what the changes here are, and you'll see we've got two nice Juggernauts there. So I've removed the 5 Berserkers, which were better than I expected. I was one of the later people to move over to the RB2K list, which was if you aren't familiar with the RB2K list, it was Ryan Bell and a few of the Red Path lads and a few people in the World Eaters Discord and stuff like that. Like are all championing it and doing quite well. Like generally, I think some of the highest performing World Eater results were using this list. So, but it had 5 Berserkers and Spawn instead of 2 Juggernaut Lords. Now that's the same exact points now, which is it's interesting that that's the same. So you've got 90 points for Berserks and 70 points for Spawn, and then 1880. So no enhancements on there. I couldn't fit the favored in, but I think just like Berserkers comparative to a Juggernaut Lord, they're not filling the exact same role. The Zerks have an extra icon. They have they're better into like a horde. So if someone's throwing like a load of Gretchen at you or a load of like cultists or whatever, I mean, the Juggernaut Lord's kind of a bit overkill, or not like overkilling on the ones he is killing, and then he's probably not going to get the full weight of attacks that obviously 5 Berserkers do. So he's a little bit less likely to kill like a 10-man cultist unit. And if it goes to like a 20-man, you're struggling a lot more. You're definitely not killing it. The thing is, and you can't breach. So there is that. Honestly, I'm not entirely sure about this. This is one way to test. I might end up missing those berserkers if I find that the meta has a lot of these like screening units that are that the jugglords are struggling to remove. But he's way better into things like scouts. I mean, Space Marines are super popular. He just walks into a unit of scouts and picks them up like quite comfortably. He's the weight of attacks and damage too. Now, admittedly, once again, Armor of Contempt is a threat, but he does mortals on the charge. He has a plasma pistol that you can shoot. So with that and the mortals on the charge, he can grenade. So we still have that keyword for the Berserkers had, but Spawn don't. So this is like more flexibility. I think once again, he's just such a solid like backfield holder. He's also very annoying into some of the things that I think are going to be quite meta in the sense that Eldar have the Howling Banshees that are a little bit of a problem for us because they're anti-infantry. He's not infantry. Once again, Spawn aren't, but Spawn weren't necessarily picking up loads of them and probably struggling to tank the hits back. Like he just stands there and just takes 5 Howling Banshees and just goes, all right, cool. I've killed 1 or 2 of you on the charge, and then I've picked up the rest of you after. Great. So he's a nice little tech piece for that. I'm liking him for 80 points. 100 points was too much. 80 points, he's just requires your opponent to do something to kill him. It's not just like I'll just shoot these like piddly shots on into that scoring unit you have there. Oh, it's dead. And 10-inch move is nothing to be snuffed at. The mounted is a downside, but if you are deploying them in the right positions, I think there is going to if my opponent's got decent like deep strike or reserve like uppy downy stuff, I think there's one of these is just going to sit on my home objective. I'm going to stick it at the start of the game, but it just gives my jackals the freedom just to run into the middle of the board and do their thing of I stick if I die, and I'll stick if you don't kill me. So I like freeing up that second jackal unit to go forward. Whereas with the berserkers, I was quite often not. I was like they would go forward instead, which it's similar, but I prefer having more like I missed having a Juggerlord on my home field that's just going to stand there and go, "You are not coming back here and doing anything about my home. This objective is mine for the whole game. And as soon as you finish doing all your reserve stuff, he's going to come barreling out of the deployment zone to try and clear up things at the end of the game, which he's pretty decent at doing. Um, so yeah, I mean, the rest of the list is standard what I've been running. And so I think generally it does fine. I'm not going to really harp on about the orc detachment at the moment, but I think that's just to avoid. I think everyone at the moment, the best strategy against it is just to avoid playing against it. Nothing you can do about it, but we'll hopefully see some changes to that soon. I don't know. But when we talk about like Yanari, I think this is the best list we could have for Yanari. The Juglords actually are not great into Yanari because we don't want to do mortals on the charge. I'd have to double check to see if you can choose not to do the mortals on the charge. Obviously, the units that don't already have fight first, you don't want to like take a wound off them or like a model to give them that fight first because that would be a pain. But otherwise, you can they deal with banshees. I think they're a good skirmishing unit into Eldar because I think there's just nothing that just is like, oh, nice and easy, it's dead. With cover and 2-up save, they need to put actual AP into you. With your Thinner Pain and 7 wounds and a 4-up invuln. So I think they're good into Eldar. This list is the one that you want to do into like Yanari, and I think Ultramarines. I think there's it's tough because I mean one of the I think I've done quite well with this list and into most of the armies I think we're going to be facing in this new meta. Custodians is another one which I think we're going to be seeing more of. And you just need the like doing mortals on the charge is always nice in those sort of situations, and grenades in more places. Just more activation, more like different phase activations is really useful. Right, so that's my warband. Right, so if you're really into warband, I think this is the way to go. But if you disagree with me, comments. I do read all the comments. Please, give me your opinions. Maybe you've written a list that you think's really good and is worth sharing. Put it in the comments. Um, and please give this video a like if you're enjoying it so far. But we have a second attachment. We have vessels, and there is a certain person that I must credit here, Josie Cartwright, fantastic World Eater player, has been championing vessels, doing very, very well with them. Her list, we had like a conversation in the Team England Discord, and she was like umming and ahhing between two different options for her list, and I don't know which one she's planning on going with. I don't know if she's playtested either of them yet. So this is the two options that she immediately after the Dataslate dropped we're looking at. So the first option is this one. So before this, she had one. So what's changed here? So her original list had 5 more Berserkers and a walking prince with gateway instead of 2 winged princes. So wing princes are cheaper. Her list came down in points because of the prince changes. So she managed to. This still comes up to I think around 2,000 points, if not on the dot. So this, I think, I I think this is very good. Vessels is deceptive, right? You've got like 2 units of 6 exalted 8 bound. Like that it just hammers, right? Like they don't I think the change of removing the walking prince you might miss that 4-up invuln, especially with gateway and some of these a lot of these like UKTC maps, which is what this list is predominantly I think been having success on, being played on. Where you have like quite often like a middle terrain piece that you can just put that like walking demon prince into and then just shuffle it through with gateway when you need it to. And Wing Princes, especially the World Eater ones, like the two rules it has are just okay. Like they don't come into the game that often, right? Like you've got full rerolls against something that you choose at the start of the game, which means like gives your opponent a lot of agency to try and like not let that connection happen. Now, rapid ingress threat with especially the non-gateway one. The gateway one just yeets straight through all the walls, and that's pretty good. But the non-gateway one, I would probably expect to be rapid ingress. The giving them whatever blessing you want is this there's a lot of staying power with them as well because of -1 to wound and blood surge and all these other like tricks you can do with these prints, especially if you're just yeeting them into people's faces quite quickly or from rapid ingress. So there's I think they're interesting. They just don't hit as hard as I would like. Um, AP2 damage 3 is great, except if you're into something like Armor of Contempt or like 2-up save vehicles, you're only at like strength 10. So yeah, there's um uh, I think that my personal opinion is there's two versions here. My personal opinion is I prefer the second version because I think that walking prince just to have that like tankiness. Also, let's point out here that there's brigands in here, so allying them in just for that like help. Clearing those midfields stand. 8 OC on objectives, but like just clearing out the opponent's chaff a lot easier because you have got like limited number of sort of resources here. Yeah, and also that Juglord with Arc Slaughterer is insanely good. It just slaps like a beast. Like it's just unbelievable amount of attacks at 3 damage. It's just like okay. um, so yeah, he's a little whirlwind monster there, which is great into some matchups, especially. Like I think the Custodes matchup, like there's so much damage free in this list, and then plus the Brigands as well, where you have just a bit of shooting just to clear out whatever like they have that might screen you, or pick up a couple of wardens potentially in the shooting phase, so that they're weaker when they do want to use their feel no pain in the combat phase, fight phase. So yeah, so there's a lot here that I think is going to do very well in the meta, and the way that people like Josie pilot this list, it's not my style, but it's undeniably good. So let's look at the other version of it. Um, so that's meant to say vessels too, um, but yeah, the this list instead of changing out the prince changes out the 5 berserkers, changes out the 10 berserkers, and uh, puts in an extra unit. So it takes out the 10 berserkers and the rhino and Khorne, and puts in an extra 6 exalted aimbound. Which is just like it feels um like you look at this list and there's just not much there, right? But 18 exalted ain't with the walking prince as well, and the with the blood surge, -1 damage, not -1 to wound. Like there's just so much there where it's just like I'm going to run at you. I'm going to tag everything that you have, and then when you do get to shoot me in certain places, it's not really going to be that great because I'm going to potentially have a 4-up invuln, and you're going to be -1 to wound, and it's just oh, I if I had 18 exalted ain't bound like painted, I'd probably take this list to a tournament because I just like I think that you're gonna have such a great time with those exalted ain't bound. I think you could even consider ingressing one of those units because you might struggle to find good placement in the deployment zone for all of them. But bear in mind that 2 of them are going to get scout. If you want it, you might. I still love you set yourself up where they're safe and could scout if necessary. But you have jackals that can also benefit from that scout just to control that midfield earlier. Um, yeah, This list I think is really strong. I think I prefer this one over the first one. I'm sure I'll be keeping an eye out on Josie's next tournament as World Eaters and see what she comes up with. It might be a completely different list to this. This is just sort of the smallest changes to her current list and first ideas, basically. Good players play test stuff, and they'll come up with new things all the time. So these are the three lists that I think, if you want to just pick up World Eaters and have a very strong list, one of these three, whichever's your style, whichever more matches the models you have, and go for it. So short video from me today, but that's the matter. I think World Eaters are in a good spot. Like there is some dangerous predators at the top, but I think we can tango with them with the right play, and also if you and I think we can stomp a lot of that midfield. There's a lot of armies which I think will struggle into dealing with us with the right pilot. So yeah, good luck out there, and if you do take any of these lists, let me know how it goes. Please, like and subscribe and comment and all those things. As Black Crow, we are delving more into this YouTube stuff, and we've set up the monetization aspect, so you can actually, if you want to do super thanks. I don't really understand how they work, but like trust me, if you give a super thank, I'll be paying attention the most. But yeah, thank you for watching to the end here, and cheers.